What is going on, guys? It's your boy Slick here, and today we're going to be talking about everything you need to know so far about the AMX Foch. Now, the Foch is the top tier TD for the French tech tree, currently residing at 7.7. That's nice. That was off the dome. I didn't even write a script for this video. It shares a gun very similar to the M103, fires a solid AP shell that pens around 300 millimeters of rolled homogeneous steel. And yeah, it's a beastly little tank. So I didn't get all of the footage I would have liked to make this an actual staple type video, but I want this to be a new series. Every time I go on the dev server, I always rush through and try really hard to find things, everything. I've gone through and I record everything I possibly can, completely exhaust myself, talk about everything. And I think that that's not the right way to do things. I think I should focus on things I really like from new patches and focus on those very hard and get the best information that I can possible. So that's what I did today, but I didn't get any transition screens like I would have liked to. I would have liked to have some cinematic transition screens similar to the other videos that I do on this channel. I didn't get to do that this time, so bear with me. It's just going to be normal fade transitions. The Foch, you can see me scrolling over the best part of this tank right now, arguably, and that is the armor. The armor on this tank is fantastic, about 300 millimeters at all times from the front if you're facing it. It has very weak top armor, very weak side armor, and it will not bounce any shells other than from the frontal plate. That being said, the frontal plate is 180 millimeters, slope back at a 55, I believe. It may go up to 60. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure off the top of my head that it's 55. And it bounces a ton of stuff. Like I said, 300 millimeters of effective armor. At 7.7, it's not going to bounce heat shells, but it definitely will bounce AP shells, AP-HE, and a lot of Russian shells. So that's nice. Germany's going to be on your team a lot, so I don't think you have to fight a ton of tanks that are firing heat FS necessarily at you. This tank does have a couple frontal weak spots. The mantlet, notably, it doesn't have any type of spall shield, really. It's only 90 millimeters of armor flat over the gun breech. And then the cupola, obviously, you could see. Now, this thing is armed with a secondary gun, and that is a 15 millimeter autocannon to the right of the range-finding cupola. And this thing has about 40 millimeters of pen. It can kill light tanks, AA vehicles, planes, etc., etc. And that's what I use it for. I like to use it as a secondary weapon. It's pretty nice to have something like that on a TD where you have to stay stationary most of the time, which is nice. This tank plays a lot like a Jagdtiger, but there is a couple things to note. It has an awful reverse rate compared to, I'm not saying it's worse necessarily than the Jagdtiger, but the Jagdtiger has side armor, so getting into a situation where you have to reverse fast or come back around a corner is tough with this thing, and the reason for that is the side armor is nothing. So as long as you're exposing side armor, you're gonna die if you at all. On top of exposing side armor and dying, the thing has a good traverse rate, but you have to keep your front pointed towards the enemies regardless. So the reverse rate will kill you in certain situations, and that's something that you really need to look out for. Now, the aced reload on this tank is 14.5 or 14.9 seconds, but it's definitely sub 15. I know for a fact it's sub 15, which is very nice for a 120 millimeter gun in a French tank, especially a TD with up to 300 millimeters of frontal armor. If you can drop a 120 millimeter AP potato every 14 seconds, or we'll say 15, we'll round it off to every 15 seconds, that's fantastic. And that's going to be definitely one of the highlights of this vehicle. I love the mobility. It can go 50 in a straight line if you're on good ground resistance. It's not going to do that off-road, of course, but it does have a 1,000 horsepower engine, and this tank is not extremely heavy, surprisingly enough, considering that it's got no side or top armor and a huge engine. You can see me here using this hill, and I think this thing's going to play a lot like the Jagdtiger plays in game right now. The only thing is, again, because of the reverse rate, you're not able to do as much in terms of being a brute bully as the Jagdtiger can. The Jagdtiger can get away with Anglic's tank at like a 45 and stuff like that, but this thing, in terms of getting into an advantageous position early on the map, is definitely a better tank, and I think it's a more modern TD. Now, a lot of things, a tank that people are going to compare this to is another 7.7 premium TD, and that's the Object 120. And what I have to say is how it stacks up against that is It is a very good tank. It's not as fast as the 120, but like I said, it has more armor. If these tanks were fighting each other, the 120 on this tank will definitely one-shot it if you hit it from the turret. I'm not sure if it'll go all the way through the engine block and one-shot the tank, but you do have the 15mm coax, which can pepper that tank, knock its engine out, set a fire up. You could put a shot through its turret, and you have more versatile options. So in terms of them facing each other, they can kill each other pretty easily, and dealing with the other tanks in the tech tree is more important than Foch versus 120. If I had to choose between each of those tanks, though, I definitely think I would enjoy the Foch a little bit more because it's new and because of its looks. It's super fun to play. I like casemate TDs that really have some type of learning curve. Most casemate TDs that I'm used to playing, they don't really have a learning curve. You kind of just drive forward and use whatever armor they have and bounce a lot of things, or you sit back and snipe. This thing has a little bit of city action in it. You can definitely get some good corner fights going, but you have to learn really how to play the tank. So the best thing I can give you guys as advice for grinding towards this thing, using this thing, use its speed really well, throw yourself into the fire the first couple of matches, accept the fact that you're going to get shot, and you'll start to learn the limits of the tank and where you can put it and where you can't. And then aim for ammo with this round. It has good fragmentation, and if you don't have an ammo shot, try to line up as many crew with one shot as you can. Don't forget to use your coax as a main sometimes if a tank is flanking you. Instead of turning your entire tank and traversing and putting the 120 on them, maybe you'll be able to kill them with the 15mm, so try that out. And try to learn the side values of enemy tanks. I mean, this thing can definitely knock out breaches as well. Breaches, machine guns, barrels, it can knock out anything that you're going to need to and more. I'm just super excited to be using this tank, and I'm super excited to play it. To tell you the truth, I thought the AMX-30 was going to be my favorite tank of the patch thus far, and there still is more coming, of course. Don't think I don't know that there's going to be more tanks added, more iterations of the dev server, etc. But I just really, really like how the Foch plays. It feels a lot like it did in World of Tanks. I used to play it every time there's a test server. I used to play the Foch and drive around. Of course, in World of Tanks, I had a 155. I could only wish Gaijin, right? But it's definitely a really cool tank, and I really want you guys to play this thing. I can't wait to see these on the battlefield. They have a unique style, a unique flow, how they work around, and it makes me excited. I'm happy that there's some tanks that offer some different type of play styles, and that seems to be the theme with this patch, along with the introduction of spotting, and the entire French tree is basically a new take on what a tank tree should be. I mean, there's tanks with no armor, there's tanks with good armor, there's tanks with good guns, they have auto loaders, they have a bunch of just random stuff, and I really can't wait to discover how all these vehicles play in sync with each other. It's kind of like the best DLC Gaijin could have added is a whole nation of tanks that I've never seen really or never really played. And yeah, so the Foch was the one that my eyes set on, and I locked in and loved it. You guys saw me play it a lot on stream and whatnot. The other thing that I really like is the AMX-13 Hot, and I'll definitely be doing a video on that later on today or tomorrow. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think about the Foch. Of course, this is not a 100% how-to video. I said as of now in the title in parentheses for a reason. It's because everything is subsequent to change on the dev server. We know this. Bounce that 120. Yeah, you know it. Everything's subsequent to change on the dev server. This tank could theoretically be gone tomorrow, and I don't know if it's going to play the same way that it does now. So again, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace, peace.
I was a terror since the public school era. Bathroom passes, cutting classes, squeezing asses. Smoking blunts was a daily routine since 13. A chubby nigga on the scene. I used to have the tray deuce and the deuce in my bubble goose. Now I got the Mac in my knapsack, lounging black, smoking sacks up in axe and sidekicks with my sidekicks, rocking fly kicks.